Sure, wrestling might be scripted, but that doesn't change the fact that wrestlers put their bodies on the line each and every night they perform. Of course, safety is a major priority, but due to the nature of the sport, injuries do happen. Though a lot of times these athletes shake off the minor ones, there have been some pretty shocking ones throughout the years. So here are 10 exceptionally devastating injuries in wrestling. Brock Lesnar is known to be a stiff worker, and you'll see that later on as well, but first let's cover the also memorable shooting star press. Lesnar was facing Kurt Angle in his first WrestleMania, and understandably wanted to make this win special. To do that, he decided to launch himself off the top rope for a shooting star press, a maneuver typically reserved for smaller men, but the 300-pound beast threw caution to the wind. Unfortunately for him, Lesnar would horribly botch the move and land on his head just short of Angle. Despite sustaining a massive concussion, Lesnar would continue on to win the match. Another infamous miscalculation that resulted in massive injury, Stone Cold Steve Austin's career was nearly ended in 1997 when he landed horribly on his neck after a pile driver by Owen Hart. Hart reversed Austin and picked him up for a tombstone style pile driver. However, Austin's head was a bit too low, and as Hart sat down to deliver the move, Austin's head jammed into the mat. Stone Cold would be temporarily paralyzed and would suffer a broken neck, but it could have been so much worse. You're likely starting to see the theme that the neck is an extremely vulnerable place in the world of wrestling, and for humans in general. This trend continues with the match between Chris Benoit and Sabu in 1994. Like Lesnar, Benoit wasn't known as the gentlest worker, and during an ECW pay-per-view, Benoit demonstrated how he earned his reputation. After botching what looks like a suplex of sorts, Sabu is sent flying into the air only to come down straight onto his head. He was fully paralyzed for minutes as he suffered a broken neck. Though this one might not visually look as bad as some of the others on this list, Goldberg's infamously botched mule kick to Bret Hart had everlasting repercussions. Taking place at Starrcade 1999, Goldberg hit Hart with a hard kick straight to the head that gave Bret a severe concussion. Not only that, but he also ended up with post-concussion syndrome, which is very serious. This single kick is the reason that Bret Hart retired, as the injuries he sustained were just too severe to continue. Making his second appearance here is Brock Lesnar, whose inexperience at the time led to somebody else getting hurt instead of him. During an episode of SmackDown in 2002, Lesnar was up against Hardcore Holly. Lesnar decided to go for a powerbomb, but couldn't get Holly all the way up. Instead of landing safely on his back, Holly was thrust downward, straight onto his neck, which instantly broke. This horrific incident kept Holly out of action for over a year. Any match involving weapons is extremely dangerous, but I'm confident in saying the latter is one of the most dangerous objects used in wrestling. Joey Mercury, unfortunately, learned that the hard way during the 2006 Armageddon pay-per-view. With a ladder in a seesaw position, Jeff Hardy jumped onto one end, causing the other end to fly up and smack Mercury square in the face. The result? A broken nose, numerous cuts, and a face bloody beyond recognition. The leg injury suffered by Sid Vicious in WCW is one that will definitely make you cringe. Sid was in a match with Scott Steiner, Jeff Jarrett, and Animal. It was here he went for a big boot after leaping off the second rope. However, just as he connected with Steiner, his other leg gave out. Sid's left leg snapped like a twig and was bent in an unnatural position, making it extremely tough to watch. This one was truly gruesome, and WCW even refused to air the injury after it occurred. Mick Foley is a hardcore legend for a reason, so it's no surprise he has suffered his fair share of devastating injuries. One such incident occurred in Germany when he squared off against Vader, whose eye popping out of the socket nearly made this list. Anyways, Cactus Jack, as he was at the time, got caught between two of the ring ropes. The ropes were quite tight and Jack had to twist himself to get out. Unfortunately, this resulted in one of his ears getting caught and ripped off during the process. Luckily, he was able to have the cartilage reattached after the match, but it was disgusting nonetheless. The legendary Hell in a Cell match at King of the Ring 1998 once again featured Mick Foley, but this time against The Undertaker and under the name Mankind. In this match, Undertaker tossed Mankind off the 16-foot structure straight through the announcer's table. From this, Mankind suffered a collapsed lung and a separated shoulder. However, he wasn't done there and got off the stretcher and back into the match. Not too long after though, Mankind would be chokeslammed through the cell, which in his own words, nearly killed him. And finally, my pick for the worst injury in wrestling happened to a wrestler you've probably never heard of. Darren Drozdov, known in the ring as Droz, was a mid-card wrestler back in the 90s. In 1999, he faced off against D'Lo Brown on SmackDown. The match was going perfectly well until D'Lo went for a powerbomb. Though a perfectly routine move, this time it was botched. Droz was dropped on his head, which led to 2 fractured discs in his neck. Doctors did everything they could to reduce the swelling in his spine, but they were unsuccessful. To this day, Darren Drozdov remains mostly paralyzed and wheelchair bound. Despite that depressing finale, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then I encourage you to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Also, if you disagree with this list, be sure to let me know why in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.